Okay, I decided I wanted to do a tier list. Now, there's going to be an addendum to this because, well, I don't have an account here. I don't use Twitter. So, there is one thing missing, and that is, Macross Delta Zettai Raibu, the movie that came out last year and is going to be on DVD and Blu-ray at the end of September of this year. So, I will state my opinion on that last because there's no picture for it. So, I'm going to go in chronological order because that's just the way I want to do it. So, this one has, so this is the TV series of Macross. So, we'll start there. For me, this is an B. And the reason why is because of the lack of Max and Miria outside of the episode Virgin Road. Max is in there a lot, but I'm not happy with what they did with the stuff after Aiwa Nagareru. So, which is all the stuff that happens after the end of the war, and they're like trying to deal with like living together with Zentradi and stuff like that. So I like certain episodes a lot. Like I really like Virgin Road. I like Viva Maria, which is in Japanese Viva Maria, which shows they take comedia to this to give to shock these Zentradi into giving up. So that was a good episode too. Phantasm and Global Reporter, bleh. But that's because they were running behind schedule. And then the episode where Max and Miria fight with their knives and that stuff, the animation is awful. That was because they were done by Koreans. And Kawamori even said as much. Like they were just in such a rush and they had to use cheap labor to get it done quickly, and it ended up looking really horrible. So I'm not it. Yes, it's the thing that got everything started, but there's a lot of things about it that are kind of meh. Now, Aobete ka? Do you remember love? That's S. That's definitely top. The animation is amazing. Mikimoto's art style is perfect. The Max and Miria don't get enough screen time, but in the context of what they're trying to describe throughout the entire movie within the limited amount of time, the fight between Max and Miria is amazing. The fact that Max becomes a giant and fights with Miria inside Quadrant Rose is amazing. So even though they don't have a lot of scenes, I love it. And yes, I'm a massive Max and Miria fan. But I think what makes this even better is that the songs. I mean, of course they have Xiao Pailong, and they have Sunset Beach and a couple other songs there. But the last song, Aobete ka, in the final battle is just it's just so impactful that I can't watch that movie without crying. I can't. I get emotional when I watch Max and Miria go at it. I get emotional when, Mimi sees Hikaru again after many months and after being with the Zentradi for so long, and how he's already moved on to Hayase. It's just like, oh, this movie. I can't sit through this movie without bawling like a baby. Okay, so we're gonna go chronologically. Well, that's too late. I already passed Macross 0, but I'll do 0 next. I think 0 is A, and the reason why is because it's quite original. It brings a lot of the protoculture stuff into it. I know that the ghost stuff a lot of people get mad about because the Ghost X9 was supposed to be for Macross Plus, and there's a lot of Macross Plus fans, and it kind of like retcons a lot of stuff that's kind of eh. But I will admit the fighting scenes are really good. The story is amazing. I think that this is one of the most overlooked in the entire... Well, it's one of the most overlooked series in Macross. It's not... It's a little longer than some of the other stuff, but in terms of OVAs, but it's... I think Zero is actually a very good OVA. I don't care that it's connected to Frontier, and I'll talk about my opinions about Frontier later. But I will... I think Zero as a work of its own is really, really interesting. So I give it an A. So now going back on track, Macross Plus. A lot of people aren't gonna like me for saying this, but I'm gonna qualify this. So I'm gonna say it's a B. I'm not a big fan of Macross Plus. I honestly am not. Do I like Isamu? Yes. Do I like his relationship between Gald and Myung? Yes. But it just, the best way to watch Macross Plus is watch episode 1 of the OVA and then watch the movie edition. Honestly. I think the movie edition is much better, although it cuts out the part where Isamu gets transferred to New Eden, or to New Edwards, and on planet Eden. And I think that both of them have, points that are missing. Like, so you could say the OVA has episode 1, so you know why Isamu's getting sent to Eden and to New Edwards. So that's a plus. But one of the scenes that I really, really hate in the OVA, but I love it in the movie edition, is that when Myung is in the concert hall trapped in there and there's a fire and Gold goes to rescue her. So in the OVA, Isamu is just sitting by himself in his apartment doing nothing, staring at the ceiling. The phone rings, he just ignores it. The movie edition, it's after he's already banged Lucy, and I think that makes a lot more sense to his character. I think it's a better character arc for Lucy, because it also it makes more sense when she's before Isamu flies off and runs off to Earth to stop the ghost and stop Sharon Apple. She has a line where she's like, Myung told me she's leaving, but I didn't tell you. I should have told you because you're a free spirit, right? Kind of thing. And, that scene is a lot more impactful within the context of the movie. And so, because it's not consistent, I can't, put... In my opinion, I think Macross Plus isn't as good as some of the other things coming up. Okay, next up. So we've got past Plus, now let's get to 7. Okay, so the TV series for 7. 7 belongs... fanboyism. I'm gonna choose my fanboyism. Now, for people who don't like Basara or don't like Firebomber, or they get tired of listening to Planet Dance every fucking episode, probably people won't like Macross 7. And I can admit that I see the limitations in the series, and I understand in the middle of it, it drags like you cannot imagine, and, there are some episodes in there that drive me crazy. I am bored to death of them. Whereas, there's some episodes in there, like Minmay Video. There was another one where, I also like the unreleased episode, the episode that wasn't broadcast, where it has a major focus on Max and Miria, because I'm a Max and Miria fan. And this is why I put 7 above Plus, is because I'm a massive fan of of Max and Miria, and I like Mylene. So, because I just like the genus family in general. I like almost all the characters. I like Emilia too. So like the movie edition, I wouldn't put as an A, of course not, because only 30 minutes. But I like Emilia, and I'm a massive Genus fanboy. So to give you an example, I went out of my way to find the Yamato 160 size figures of the Quadrant Rose from Do You Remember Love? The Maximiria types. I have the Yamato 160 scale Miria VF22S, which you can't really find anymore. It's hard to find, so you can tell my fanboyism is showing through. I do think that the ending was a tad rushed. The final episode was a tad rushed, but the middle of the series it drags really hard. But within that, there are some amazing episodes, and Mylene trying to get Max and Miria back together because they're always fighting with each other, and she's like, she doesn't want to see them fighting anymore. So like how she invites them to her concert to see her sing and all that stuff. I think there's some golden episodes, and that's what makes 7 not be an S. But I think that for a normal person, they might consider it a B. I'm putting A because I'm a Max Miria fanboy. Now, Dynamite 7. Ugh. So, Dynamite 7 is too short. The ending is too open-ended. I like a lot of what it does. I don't care about the space whales. A lot of people bitch about the space whales. That doesn't bother me. My issue is it's only 4 episodes. It doesn't have a real conclusion to it. It's just kind of, ends with Basara running off. And Mylene and Gumlin chasing him. And it's just like, nah. And the songs I'm not a big fan of. I like Mylene's song that she sings in there, but other than that, it's kind of eh. Although, I will tell you, in 7, going back to 7-1, well, actually, no, I'll save this for later. I'll explain that later. Okay, now, on to Frontier, the TV series. Ugh. I will put it here. I don't like Macross Frontier. I like the ideas it put forth. I like the idea of the Vajra. I think it's cool that there's like these living creatures that like communicate through fold space and fold energy. I think that's very interesting. I don't like the characters whatsoever. But I will say the TV series is better than the movies, so you can probably guess where the movies are going to end up. The movies are garbage. I can't stand them, so I'll just put them down here at the bottom because, ugh. I can't stand the movies. They're boring as hell. I will say this: the only thing that I like more about the TV series than the movies is the fact Michelle dies in the TV series, and I think that gives a massive amount of character development to Krang. But they took that out of the movies, and the whole firebomber, motif concert at the jail to save Cheryl in Sayonara no Tsubasa is just choke. Now, because, with Macross Delta, they had the short little movie, Toki no Meikyu, so I'm going to talk about that now. That was awful. That was just garbage, because I went to the movie theater, I saw it 3 times, because I wanted to see the Delta movie 3 times. And I absolutely despised it. It did nothing to the story. Yes, a little bit older, Ranka she looks cute, but does that really do anything? Honestly, you know, there's a lot of fan service for Frontier fans there, like, you know, the that goes from the movies, but like they should have just done a full movie, like do Delta movie and a Frontier movie, and make them separate, and finish the story of Frontier. This did nothing to push the story forward, and it did nothing to actually answer any fucking questions. So fuck Toki no Mikyu. I think it is garbage. That would belong, like, if there's anything less, like if I made anything less than a D, it would be under that, because Toki no Mikyu I just cannot stand. It was well liked because all these stupid Frontier fans exist, but ugh, just ugh, awful, awful, awful. So now, Delta TV series. I'll be nice. I'll put it here. And that's only because there's one particular episode I really like, and that's basically it. The thing with Delta TV series is that it wasn't liked by many people to begin with. The Valkyrie designs still look too much like something out of Aquarian because Kawamori keeps designing them that way, and it's just there's the character development that Chuck gets, I think, is better. I think he deserved a little bit more because it gives a little more background to the planet Laguna. So I'm okay with that. But the love triangle seems really forced, and it doesn't really go anywhere. And as much as I love Mirage as a character, because she's very different than, her aunt Mylene or her grandparents, I thought the TV series did her terribly, and I wasn't too happy with that. Oh, let's not talk about this one. This is just awful. The first Delta movie is absolute trash. It is garbage tier. And there are like a couple things, like I'll say the Delta movie, the first Delta movie, Gekijo no Warukire, is the new scenes that they added are really well made. And I think they work really well. The new scenes. The problem is the way they cut these scenes from the TV series to make the movie was awful. The cuts, the editing is absolute trash. And it makes the story completely discombobulated. It just, I cannot stand the Macross Delta first movie. It is absolute trash tier. Only the last part where there's new scenes where they change the story, like instead of Shiroikishi actually shooting and killing Messer. I hate Messer too. Fuck Messer. I changing it to him dodging it at the last second and them having an extra little battle go on. I think that was a good idea, because I think that it fit that situation better. The problem is that Messer's a terrible character. I think there isn't really a character I really like out of the first Delta movie outside of Mikumo. I really cannot say I like any of the other characters, because they cut out so much of character development with, like, Chuck. They cut out, stuff with Alad and his, kind of feelings towards Kaname. Even though Kaname likes Messer or something like that. Or no, Messer likes Kaname, Kaname likes Alad, and they're just kind of like, it's all just kind of one big mess. That was what the TV series did. But they cut all that out, and then they cut out any of the way they edited in some of the old scenes with, like, Mirage kind of, looking like she has feelings for Hayate, but really doesn't, because Hayate is paying more attention to Freya. go the way they cut it was just absolute garbage. So I'll leave it at that. Now I'll discuss Zettai Raibu, which is the movie that came out last year. That movie belongs in S tier at this current point. I think it's a step lower than, I think, if top S tier is the first Macross movie, I think this is like the low end of S tier. And the reason why I say that is Freya's character arc is really, really good. Having Max come in, because the voice actor for the Macross Elysian's captain, I can't remember his name, Ernest Johnson. He also did Gald in Macross Plus. He died before they did the movie, so they had to bring in a new character to kind of push the story along, because they didn't have the voice actor to voice the character, and Kawamori wasn't going to replace him. So they brought in Max. They the way they used Max was amazing. My only gripe about Max is that they didn't have Mikimoto do the basic sketches for him before they gave it to the CG designer to do their thing. They just had the same guy do Max, and I didn't like that. Because with Zero, they got Mikimoto to at least do the basic design for Roy Fokker. They didn't do that with Max for Zettai Raibu. I didn't like that. But notwithstanding, Yami Kyure is amazing. The songs are better than the Water Kyure songs. There's connections to Plus, with the idea of the Sharon Apple the neurochip, which is really interesting, because Kawamori's avoided doing any kind of connection to Macross Plus whatsoever until this point, so I thought it was really good that he incorporated some of the technology from Plus in that. You can also see through the new Kairos Pluses that they're getting closer to what you would see in Macross 2, which is quite interesting. The ending just rips you apart. I think that Zettai Raibu is the only good thing about Macross Delta. To be honest, my gripe though, my main gripe with the movie as a whole though, was that because you have Max there, you have a character for someone like me who's a massive Max fan, who's been around since the beginning of Macross. His impact is so much stronger in the show, or in the movie, that that Hayate seems pushed to the side. And Hayate's character originally is not very good, so him trying to stand out in front of Max, that's just not gonna happen. And I like having Max there is not the issue. It's that Hayate is poorly written, and he doesn't have that charisma. He's like a modern Japanese guy who's just kind of like wandering around and nothing special, and he's not focused on anything, and all he's like is Freya the whole movie. So he's too one-dimensional, and that really hurts when it comes to characters like Mirage, who actually gets a lot of really good character development in Zettai Raibu. I love Mirage's her character development is amazing. Max being there to be there, the catalyst for her changing, was amazing, which is why when you have a character like that who's able to jump around and change the dynamic of everything with somebody as well known as Max, you need to have the actual main character needs to kind of, even if they're not on an equal level, at least be close to it, and Hayate wasn't, and that drove me crazy. And I like Max is just too impactful in the movie. So that's my main complaint of the movie, and that's like a lot of people don't see it that way, but most of them are much younger than me, and they all became fans from Frontier, not from the original Macross. So they have a different perspective because they don't know what the original Macross was good for. So on to the last one, top tier on the same level as Iobue is Macross 2. I love Macross 2. I don't even have a Laserdisc player, and I have all 6 Laserdiscs. I have the novelizations, all 5 books of the novelization. I have an Ishtar figure that I sit next to my computer. That was it was part of the Macross figure collection or something like that. I forget, character collection or something like that. I have an Ishtar figure. I have both soundtracks. I have the limited edition Blu-rays. What else do I have on Macross 2? I have a Stajiki. What's a Stajiki in English? I forget. I've got that of Macross 2. Macross 2. I also have the source book. This is animation Macross 2. I only have the Macross 2 one. I want the 7 one because they have some really cool original designs of Basara Mylene, which is just amazing. But that'll be in the future. I'll have to get that. But yes, I'm a massive Macross 2 fan. Do I think it's better than Do You Remember Love? No, I think they're equal. Which is why I said that Delta Zettai Live is a little bit lower than both of them. Because I think that those are the pinnacle of Macross, and you can't do better than Iobue and 2. But Delta Zettai Live got close to there. And I think that was good considering Delta was originally just flat out garbage. And Macross hasn't been really great since I think 2. Or maybe 7. But 7 wasn't super great. I just, like Max and Miria, and I like lots of Max and Miria. So, so that's why I like 7 the most, or 7 as much as I do. But other than, from an objective point of view, I think 7 is pretty weak as a series because it's just too long and drawn out, and there's too much dragging going on. Now, what I wanted to mention about 7 and Dynamite 7 that's related to Macross 2 is that listen to some of the songs in Macross 7. They use the songs from 2 in there. You hear Koi no Banana Moon. You hear Barikiri no Sete, which is the song that Jamming Birds sing. There's a lot of the background music, like Scooper. Like if you watch the Macross 7 Plus, the little shorts that they have, there's Melia the President, and the background music from that is the music in the background from that is Scooper from Macross 2. Also, when she's singing karaoke with Michael, she's singing Koi no Banana Moon. So, and there's also in the 7 TV series, there was one other vocal track that Sato Yuka did for Macross 2 that's on the second CD, on the soundtrack volume 2, that was not used in Macross 2. He used it in the background of, I think, 3-4 episodes of 7. You have to listen very carefully, though. You'll wonder what that song is. But that was a song originally written for Macross 2 that was used in Macross 7 because it was unused in 2. And so when people talk about like that Macross 2 is like an alternate world or something, or a parallel world or something like that, that's not true, because the guy who did all the writing for it was the same guy who did the writing for Macross 2, and he did all the writing for Macross 7, and so he incorporated a lot of stuff from Macross 7. Also, I think in one of the early episodes when Basara and Mylene are Firebomber in general, are like observing like bands, there's one female singer that gets up there with that band, and she sings Ima wa Tomodachi, which is the Wendy Rider song. So, there was a lot of Macross 2, and there's a lot of Macross 2 BGM in there. Also, and that applies to Dynamite 7 as well. There's some background music that's from Macross 2 in that as well. So, that's why I saved that to talk about last, because there's a connection to Macross 2 there. And that's because the guy who wrote them is the same guy who wrote Macross 2. But, so that's my tier list. So, here would be, right here would be Zettai Raibu. The Macross Frontier mini movie that came with Zettai Raibu, which is Toki no Meikyu, would be right here because it's just absolute garbage. So this is my tier list, and I'd like to hear what everybody else says, although I think everybody's going to say, oh, you rated Frontier too low. I'm coming from a different perspective of Macross. You're probably all much younger than I am if you like Frontier more than the original or 2 or something. So anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe, whatever. See you next time.